I think I know what you're saying. I mean, there's things that come and go in terms of what, like you say, what kind of tunes cats are writing now, and what's the latest thing. I don't know. I mean, with the appropriation of various kind of like different folk musics like that I think has always been the case in jazz. I mean, that's not a new thing. People were doing. There's a Pat Martino record where he's like exploring the sounds of India, in the '70s and stuff. And like he was like, people were checking out stuff. I mean, Coltrane did it.
Definitely.
Dizzy did it with Cuba. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He like because this guy Chano Pozo was in New York, and so he was the one that taught Dizzy about all these things. But there's many worlds of music to open up, and I don't know. I think how it comes into being part of someone's music really has to do with their depth as how they appropriate things, how they use things. I mean, it's really taste and who knows? Maybe there's some people in Cuba who would say what Dizzy did, that's not really Cuban music, or what like. I mean, somebody might say, well, he had original guys, so that makes it authentic. Other people will say, well, he had the authentic part, but it wasn't this either. So there's many levels, and that becomes political of like what's cool to use and what's not cool. Ultimately, jazz is the thing that borrows a lot of sounds from around the world, and I think that goes in a faddish way, like clothes, in a certain way. Like cats are wearing this kind of stuff now, and they didn't used to, or now they're wearing this kind of stuff again, which they used to wear back then. Although now it means something different. Everything is context. Everything is cultural. So I really think it has to do with like I would have to judge every person, every piece of music on its own merit. Mm-hmm. Like that was a successful marriage of like here's this kind of elven-y groove, but they also threw some other stuff in there. I guess, did it work? Well, it could work, but it could also not work. I mean, just to even say that someone's building on top of an elven type of groove, that's already appropriated from music that's 60 years old. That doesn't come from where we came from.
Right.
And what,
that's true.
So I think it's a fine line when you start to say it's got to be pure. Like that's
yeah.
That's a spiritual thing that the person. Like Dizzy seemed like such a pure spirit that everything he did had a purity to it, and so, but then someone will say, he's playing with those, rock rhythms, man. That's, there's people that got on Miles Davis for playing rock rhythms. The people that got on Miles Davis for wearing clothes that were associated with, it's all kind of like, you're always going to piss somebody off. You're always going to, so I just try to look at it like, yeah, I see trends. I see those things happening. People, definitely that kind of, that I know what you're talking about, that sound, all the odd meter stuff, which really wasn't even a thing when I was, kind of coming up as a student. There were some things, and people would play and some odd meters, but it just wasn't as prevalent. And now I think you have a lot of guys that are more comfortable in odd meters than they are playing in 4/4, or swinging for sure in 4/4. So I don't know. That's just how things change, and. But still there's guys that are more pure about playing bebop from the 40s now than there were in the 80s. And it was closer to that, so it's just some people that decide, okay, we're going to be monks. We're going to do this. And everyone, and if they're going to, borrow folk music from different places around the world, if they do it in a strong way, an artistic way with taste, and it sounds like music, it doesn't like I'm not judging it for its purity level. I just think the foundation has to be there. People playing with good sounds, good rhythmic feeling. You have to have the basics. You have to have, if you're a musician, you got to deal with rhythm, melody, harmony, dynamics, timbre.
Yeah.
If you think about the greats, like Monk had his own approach with all those things. Bird had his own approach with all those things. Coltrane, you have to have your own way into all those elements. Joe Henderson did. Like certainly Louis Armstrong did. Like what these people like Louis Armstrong and Billie Holiday, what they did with American popular song. These songs were like a few years old, and they were sung totally straight by people. Straight, no jazz rhythms. These are show tunes written by show people. and the rhythms are dot 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 dot
Yeah.
da dot 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 dot, like that kind of. That's how the songs were written. But Louis Armstrong came along and was like, okay, I'm going to teach the world how to how to play and sing these tunes. And Nat Cole did it too. He could sing straight, and it's still jazz. Frank Sinatra got it from from listening to Billie Holiday and just the way like. So I don't know. It's all like what people are they dealing with the foundations of music, and do they have some sense of history to it? That's the thing I think maybe you're concerned about, is just like people grabbing like sounds that are in the air now, and they have no understanding of the foundation which you need, where you can grab anything and make it musical. And then it's your personal taste of how deep into the countryside you go, and for folk influences or not. But
And just to be clear, because I don't want nobody to misunderstand me, if you want to take other sounds and other music, like, dude, I'm all for that. Like, I think people should be doing that, because that's like a brilliant way to actually connect, and
Right.
it's so yeah, I mean, appropriation.
But respect is key.
Yeah.
Respect is key.
Yeah.
Like you say, as someone with ties to that,
Yeah.
with cultural ties
Yeah.
to that. If it doesn't hit you in a place where it feels honest,
Yeah.
then maybe what it is that the person doesn't really understand
Yeah.
the culture that they're brought. Like,
Right.
maybe check it out a little bit more before you just kind of gloss something.
Yeah.
And because that's just like whatever. That's just like a.
And I feel like what Armin is saying, maybe you're saying a little bit to the effect of, like, don't write something, or maybe people write something in odd meter just for the sake of trying to make something hard, rather than coming from a place of like spiritual creativity, maybe.
Which that's a good point. And Peter, I know. I mean, I've heard a lot of your original music, maybe all of it, and I wonder because Oz was telling me, for example, and sometimes I feel this way. Usually, the best melodies and originals, they just kind of like come to you when you're not even planning on it. You can be dreaming about this stuff, wake up in the middle of the night and be like, whoa, that's a nice melody, get the memo and then record it real quick. What's your thought process on originals?
Well, I mean, all different ways. I mean, I've always enjoyed just trying to fiddle around with sounds. So I would learn a new sound, I would try to write something with it. I try to take a sound and have it lead to something else. Make a little story, put chords together, put intervals together, different things, and I tried to develop like some sense of craft of like, okay, you have this thing, there's different ways, different choices you have of how to develop it. But with writing in a jazz context, I have to always keep in mind, like, well, it's got to be something that people, and also myself, are going to want to play.
Yeah.
It's a question of how much do you write into it and how much do you leave it open, leave it as a suggestion. Just harmonic progression and a melody. That should be enough. Maybe a couple things where this bass line is important, or this little thing is important, or here's a little figure here. But as little of that as necessary. A little of that as possible. Only what's necessary, because I want people to bring their own things. Kind of if hits are supposed to be in a tune, they will find their way into it because people will do it naturally.
Right.
And that's the best thing, rather than someone reading it, as opposed to hearing the melody or hearing the cadence of the whatever and just kind of like setting up the next phrase. That's where, composition should evolve. And I really like the feeling of like playing a tune with different people and having it be different a little bit. Yet also the tune has enough of a personality that it retains some character, but like playing it with this person or this rhythm section has a different feeling than playing it with these folks. And that's nice, because then it's just like a topic. And it's just like, let's talk about this, and the conversation is going to flow differently with different people depending on their opinions and how they express themselves. And that's what a tune should be. Just a template, just a suggestion, just a a setting, a storyline, a plot, some characters, whatever. That it shouldn't be overwritten. That's classical composition. That's writing everybody's part, which I would love to get into, but I have not had the really just the ability or the time to really indulge writing a piece. But I try to really take a lot of time with these kind of skeletal tunes that I do write and try to make them have as much of a personality as possible. And a lot of times they're for different functions. This one is so that we have an excuse to play on a minor blues. This one is like a wrinkle on this one. This is its own chord progression that I'm going to enjoy, like trying to play over a different chord progression, because that will lead me to some different places melodically and whatever. So they're all, I try to write different types of tunes, and if I want to play them, then they'll survive. If not, then I still had a good time, and it's still positive to just try to tinker with something and see where it can go. But if it does kind of form and you can get out of the way and let it kind of write itself, or just kind of throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see, well, whatever sticks, I guess I'll go with that. That's still on the wall, so that's what I'll play.
Are you tired of the government trying to calcify your pineal gland and turn you into nothing more than a working zombie? Look no further, because the Houston Ensemble has now been sponsored by the amazing Epic Water Filters. Tell us what they do, Armin.
Epic Water Filter is the only true filtration system you need. All these other filtration systems skip out on so many terrible chemicals and minerals that are still in your water and that you should not be drinking.
Fluoride, chromium, lead, all these other things that you do not want in your water. We've got water bottles with filters on them. We've got home installation filters. We've even got pitchers. Right now you can get 20% off any of these items on epicwaterfilters.com if you use our discount code Houston Ensemble, all lowercase, one word.
That's Houston Ensemble, lowercase, one word, for 20% off your Epic Water Filter.